My name is John Sheridan. I'm an artist, an activist, and I'm recording from where I live in Oakland, California. I'm creating this video today, July 12th, as we continue seeing an enormous increase of confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the United States. There were over 61,000 new cases reported yesterday, and just short of 300,000 new cases the past week alone. This is the fourth semi-daily video I will be creating and posting to social media to raise our awareness of the absolute and immediate need for universal COVID-19 testing and tracing in the United States. This pandemic is touching all of our lives and probably eventually will touch everyone's life on the planet. It is our obligation to understand as much as we can because it may mean the difference between life and death, if not for us, for those nearest to us. The latest surges in new cases appear to be found in younger people than before, and as more tests have become available, they have found more cases. That is not reassuring in the least. We know so little, and while at this time it appears younger people survive being infected by COVID-19 better than do the elderly or the poor and those with underlying health conditions, the long-term effects of being infected by this virus are not yet well understood. There are signs that an infection can damage internal organs, even in young people, with no sense yet of the long-term effects as young people age. To view the distribution of cases of COVID-19 worldwide, here's an easy-to-read graph. The very large blue area on the left represents the share of cases that have occurred in the United States. To view the distribution of deaths of COVID-19 worldwide, here's another easy-to-read graph. The very topmost green line, far above any of the other countries in the world, represents the share of deaths that have occurred in the United States. Today I watched an interview with Danielle Allen of Harvard's Sraffa Center for Ethics. She and a team of other academics have created what they call the Roadmap for Pandemic Resilience, which outlines a bold plan to test everyone, and if positive, to pay for their isolation for 14 days until they are no longer infectious. It outlines how tracing their social contacts for testing would let us locate the vast majority of cases of COVID-19 in the United States, and by briefly isolating people testing positive to burn itself out without spreading any further. We should look at this as good news. But it's going to take all of us to put pressure on our elected officials to adopt this roadmap, or one close to it, if the United States is going to rid itself of the virus before it goes on to kill an estimated 800,000 to 1.5 million people in the United States. You and I have to do our part. Remaining passive is not an option. We all have to fight to get rid of the virus before it gets rid of a lot more of us. Finding, isolating, and allowing the virus to burn itself out without infecting the rest of us must be a priority in our thinking, our speaking, and our actions. To that goal, I have today begun a hunger strike of an indefinite length of time to focus attention on the critical need to implement a universal testing and tracing program in the United States. States and cities alone cannot marshal the resources nor the oversight needed to manage a program of this scope and scale. This hunger strike is not being undertaken lightly. I have never done this before, and naturally there is some risk to my health, but I have friends and neighbors checking in on me personally and by phone, and I will have some medical monitoring. I take inspiration and courage from the many other hunger strikers, including thousands of prisoners held by the United States who have protested their oppressive conditions, Palestinians held indefinitely without charges, suffragists in England, some of whom had to endure forced feeding and death, and whose bravery and example inspired Mahatma Gandhi to himself undertake several hunger strikes against the British occupiers. While I have not the courage of these people, I am tired of the complacency, fear, and indifference to suffering that I find too many people live with. I am lucky enough to be able to take up such a difficult task as a hunger strike, when many people cannot. It seems to me one of the few ways to focus attention on a solution to the problem of the COVID virus infection, universal testing and tracing. Visit my website at universalcovid19testing.com or locate me, John Sheridan, on Facebook or Twitter and see what we can do to stop this pandemic. We can beat this if we try, and we have to try with the combination of things we have, which is some technology and our active and collective collaboration.